Homosexual activist propaganda is alive and well in the public schools and gaining steam. I'm Matt Barber, Vice President of Liberty Counsel Action, and joining me again on the phone today is Steve Crampton, General Counsel with Liberty Counsel and Vice President. Steve, this past April 20th, adult homosexual activists with the Gay, Lesbian, Straight Education Network, a radical homosexual indoctrination organization, used young kids around the country as puppets, well-meaning kids, encouraging them to remain silent for an entire school day to show solidarity with their radical lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender political agenda. They couch it all, of course, Steve, in terms of preventing bullying, which everybody is against. Certainly no reasonable person would stand for kids in any school setting or elsewhere being bullied for any reason, whether it's because they identify by some kind of homosexual attraction or whatever the reason being. Unfortunately, these adult, very talented and astute political activists have figured out how to leverage the sympathies associated with that, use this language of bullying as a Trojan horse to get into the schools so that they can indoctrinate and try to influence young children to sign off on their political agenda. Isn't that what it's all about, Steve?
It's exactly what it's all about, Matt. And I think every taxpayer in America, no matter where you stand on the issue of homosexual rights, ought to be outraged that they have not just co-opted the students, but in effect co-opted the entire system for the entire school day in every school district where this program is allowed to go forward. It's a total shutdown of the system, in effect, and it strongly encourages, if not coerces, teachers and administrators to play along and become, in effect, political activists for this radical agenda that, frankly, is destroying America. We have heard at Liberty Counsel from some faculty members who are afraid to speak out in opposition to this agenda because, in effect, it is imposing the very totalitarian regime that they pretend that they themselves oppose with their claims of tolerance and so forth. I mean, you know very well, Matt, how the game works. This is the most totalitarian kind of philosophy that is afoot in America today.
Well, it's very simple. It sets up a dividing line, and it says, join with us if you want to be one of the good guys. We stand in support of every single demand of the radical homosexual activist lobby, and we're going to do it under these innocuous terms of preventing bullying and so forth. And if you stand on the other side, anything that does not completely embrace our agenda,
right, you
are part of the problem. You're the bully. So we've heard from students around the country that our kids raised in a Christian home with Christian faith that recognize that homosexual behavior, it's sin, that it's self-destructive. This is not opinion. Even the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the Food and Drug Administration, uncompromising human biology holds this out to be true. Scripture says that the wages of sin is death. So the natural consequence of unnatural behaviors are destructive. These consequences are destructive. But if you happen to be a student, a kid, that holds a traditional view of sexual morality, of sexual behavior, and the Bible is very clear, Steve, any kind of sexual activity outside of the bonds of marriage between a man and a woman is sexual sin. So if you are a Bible believer, if you're a Christian, and you adhere to the unequivocal tenets of the Christian faith relative to sexual morality, you are a bully. You are a homophobe. You are a bigot. And this is all by design. That's exactly what these radical sexual anarchist activists with GLSEN are enlisting these kids to do. Essentially, those preventing the bullying, supposedly, have become the bullies.
There you go. And Matt, I mean, I think that's exactly the case. And again, let's take the party that may be listening to this broadcast who does not subscribe to Christian fundamental beliefs and does not recognize the morality of the matter. Fine. How about the good of society as a whole? We are destroying our youths. We are sending them a death certificate by having them buy into this agenda and this behavior that is destroying them. It's not just a little disease here and there. It is lethal at the end of the day. And as you point to, the Center for Disease Control's own data, most recent data just released, unequivocally establishes that the primary cause for AIDS, which of course is itself lethal, is sexual behavior among same-sex individuals.
Yeah.
And so imagine if this were a smokers' rights group, and we were all about not saying negative things about smokers and handing out to them packs of Camel filters or something. I don't know.
No, it's worse than that. The CDC has shown that 1 in 5 men who have sex with men in cities around the country already have HIV/AIDS. 40% of them don't even know it. These are the CDC's own facts. A study by the International Journal of Epidemiology by pro-homosexual researchers showed that homosexual conduct can knock up to 20 years off of an individual's life. How dare we? This is educational malpractice for our counselors in the schools to tell these kids, oh, you think you might be attracted to another boy, another adolescent boy? Well, experiment with it. Engage in homosexual conduct. You might be gay. You probably are gay. Now, imagine 20 years, that's worse than smoking. The 8 to 10 years, the study shows smoking. Imagine if we were saying, oh, you think you might like to try cigarettes? Oh, here, go ahead. And in fact, here, we're going to hand out packs of cigarettes, just like they throw condoms to the kids in these public schools. There would be public outrage, yet this demonstrably destructive from a not just emotionally and spiritually, which it is, but clearly medically, this destructive lifestyle is elevated and celebrated in the public schools, and these radicals with GLSEN and with the Day of Silence are responsible for it, and these educators taking part in it are engaging in malpractice, in my opinion.
And in fact, the entire anti-bullying program is driven by not bullying in general, but bullying against one class in particular, and that is the homosexual activists. And so when the Christian child, in good faith, tries to set the record straight, share some of those very facts that you just articulated, or perish the thought, actually introduce Scripture into a discussion with some other child who's contemplating homosexual behavior, guess which way the bullying arrow points, and who is going to be hauled down to the office and subject to interrogation and basically the Inquisition? It's the Christian student. What is the upshot of this? Truth itself is alienated and ostracized from our schools. This is not about education, it's about indoctrination.
King and King was being given to kindergartners. Even worse, homoerotic material was being made available at a conference that was open to adults and students as young as middle school. The conference was organized by GLSEN, the Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network.
My name is Brian Kamaker. I'm president of Mass Resistance, pro-family group in Massachusetts. We've been around for over 16 years. I got involved because father, and I was really upset with what was going on in the schools with my own kids. And some of the stuff that's going on in the schools in Massachusetts is really, really terrifying. Here's an example of something that was that was at Brookline High at a GLSEN conference. GLSEN is the gay organization that puts the gay-straight alliances in the schools. The little black book, Queer in the 21st Century. This was picked up at Brookline High School at a gathering of teachers and kids pushing the gay agenda at that school. This is so disgusting that I can't really read it to you. It tells kids how to safely perform a variety of really gross and unhealthy homosexual sex acts. I can't read it to you because it is so vulgar and so offensive. It tells where you can meet other kids who are homosexual or homosexual men. It talks about how to use certain devices with homosexual sex. It's extremely disgusting and vulgar. It was published by the AIDS Action Committee with money, as it says, from the Boston Department of Health, the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and other groups that get public money. A lot of people don't realize this or don't want to realize it, and I'm telling you, it's only getting worse. Our organization attempts to expose it, and we lobby the legislature to protect parents from this, and it's always a battle. The homosexual activists do not want parents knowing what goes on. They do not want parents opting out their kids. They've testified on several occasions that parents being able to opt out their kids they consider dangerous and intolerant. GLSEN is the Gay, Straight, Lesbian Education Network, founded by Kevin Jennings in the late 80s, who was a teacher in Massachusetts. He was Barack Obama's Safe Schools czar. GLSEN is a national homosexual group that targets kids in the public schools and attempts to set up these gay-straight alliances and puts on programs to make kids more comfortable engaging in homosexuality and transgenderism.
And this year, my baby, GLSEN, is turning 18. Thank you.
These conferences are always open to the public. One of our people came and picked it up, actually picked up a few copies.
This was not the first time that shockingly graphic sexual information had been shared at a GLSEN event. GLSEN's annual conference in the year 2000, open to students as young as 14, became famous for what came to be called the Fistgate scandal. During a seminar that was labeled for youth only, one of the speakers, a Massachusetts state employee, actually explained to her audience a deviant sex act known as fisting. In late 2009, GLSEN was once again embarrassed by a revelation concerning sexually explicit material for young people. This time, that content was found in books that were listed on the book link feature on GLSEN's own website. This was for students in grades 7 through 12. According to investigators who read them, the books whose titles were listed on GLSEN's site included materials on sex between children, sex between adults and children, and sex between teachers and students.
My national union, the American Federation of Teachers, has partnered with an organization called GLSEN, the Gay Lesbian Education Network.